I was thinking about this when we were getting ready to do this interview.
Uh-huh.
We don't say this enough. I really appreciate Seth Trimble doing these interviews. Like, he came in and did one kind of similar to this last year around the same time. He's doing it today. I harassed him like basically an hour ago and asked him if he could come do it. And he was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And here
what do you think? He probably has in his phone, he's like, oh, God, it's Adam again.
There's absolutely no doubt. Like, I picture him sitting in class or something. He's like, I could either take a test or respond to this text. Bring me the test. So in all seriousness, like, Seth Trimble had other things to do, but he's here because he wanted to talk about the Tar Heels. So Seth, we really appreciate you coming by.
Absolutely. Appreciate y'all for having me.
Big week for you. I saw a cool video that had you in it.
Yeah.
What? Tell us a little bit about just making that decision and being part of the Tar Heels for
I mean, just like how after every season, you have to sit back and reevaluate. So, I spent a couple of weeks doing that, just going back and forth with everything. But once again, at the end of the day, the Tar Heels came out on top. So, I'm super glad just to be back here for 4 years. I know that's not a thing that you see too often now, somebody being out of school for 4 years. So I'm just happy to be here, and I'm just ready to, put my foot down and, get rolling for next year.
So it did not used to be this way where every year it was a reevaluation,
right.
But that is how it is now. It is not unique to Carolina. It's just what it is in college basketball. So what starts happening for a player when the season is over? What are the types of things that are going through your mind? What are the conversations that you have to try and figure out what the next best step is?
First you have to, reflect and just appreciate, what happened in the year, the good, the bad, what you learned. And then second, you got to put all emotions aside once it comes time just to this period where you have to reevaluate because, something bad happens maybe towards the end of the year and you go into the whole reevaluating process all emotional, saying, oh, I want to get out of here. Something good happens, but you had a bad year the whole year, vice versa. So you just have to put all emotions aside and just reflect what went good with the season, what went bad, what was in your control, and what wasn't in your control. So, I went through all that, talked to my agent, talked to my parents, talked to my brother, talked to everybody who I needed to talk to and just kind of got their input, but at the end of the day, it's my decision. So after you do that, now you sit with yourself for a couple of days, maybe a few days, and figure out what it really is that you want. And at the end of the day, you come to that conclusion, and my conclusion's here.
What was it that was important to you that you felt like this was the best place for you to accomplish?
What was super important for me was just not the comfort, but the familiarity that I have with this program, with the system, with Coach Davis, and coming in and being really confident that I can just be, Seth next year. I think the last couple of years I've been able to grow into that more and more, but there's always been something like this last year. I wasn't playing my true position, and it was something that I put aside and fully dove into, but is that what I want to do at the end of the day? No. So that's just something that comes with it. But what's most important is just doing what you want to do, and putting yourself in the position that you want to be in. And I did that coming back here.
So Carolina, and again, this is just how it is now. The Tar Heels going to have a whole lot of new faces on the team next year. And I want to ask you about your role in that in just a second. But like, as Carolina is, for lack of a better term, kind of recruiting or courting some of these other players, are you involved in that in any way? Are you talking to some of these guys that are coming to campus and trying to figure out what they want to do?
Absolutely. I've reached out to a whole lot of guys now. Coach Davis and the rest of the coaching staff, Mr. Tanner, they pulled me aside and say, hey, we're going after this guy. Can you reach out to him? Can you, tell him how you feel, this and that? And then I've been to about 4 or 5 dinners now already. So because we don't have too big of a team, I'm the head recruit and I'm the guy stuck at all the dinners. But I mean, I enjoy going to it. I enjoy helping recruit because at the end of the day, I want a really good team, just how Coach Davis and everybody else wants a really good team. So I got to be all in on it too. But yeah, I've been busy myself with it.
Seth just sits at the table. He's like, yeah, just my regular. Yeah, just go ahead. Take that filet, medium. Yeah.
Hey, and I can't say no to some free pasta or free steak. So I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Can you tell anything from those dinners? Like, they're putting on their best face, and so is Carolina, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been able to walk away and either go, that guy's definitely a fit, or maybe that guy is definitely not a fit?
Yeah. I mean, at these dinners, you can kind of get a good sense of how they really feel, if they're really, into it, if they want to involve us more in the future. You can definitely get somewhat of a feel. Like, I'll just give an example with Henry. I was, really confident and really comfortable with Henry in that dinner, and I had a really good feeling leaving that he'd have a good chance of joining this program. And it's been vice versa at dinners, in the past. So you definitely get a good feeling.
Do they ever give you a name of a guy, and like, a lot of people and people like you, so you have a lot of friends.
Right.
But have they ever given you a name of a guy and you're like, I've never heard of this guy, I'm going to YouTube and see what's up with this?
Yeah, honestly. Kyan from Colorado State. They just told me, I think a few days ago, that they were looking at him, and I just never watched Colorado State this year, so I went to watch my film on him. I love the way he plays. He plays on and off the ball, really smart point guard, good splits. So I had to do my research on him, but I'm super happy that he's decided to come and be a Tar Heel. So.
Okay, so every year when we talked about this a little earlier in the podcast, every year you've been here, you've gotten better. Like, I mean, there's no question that from year one to the end of last year, your game has continued to grow. Where is it that you want your game to continue to improve, and for you to do whatever it is you want to do, whatever role you want to have? What is important in your mind for that to occur this upcoming season?
Just for me, first off, the mind has to continue to grow. It has to continue just to be the most powerful muscle in my body, because, physically I can have all these gifts, but if the mind isn't right, I won't be able to do it. So that has to be right. Another thing, I want to be, the most efficient I can be next year. I think I started off real efficient, and then after the injury, it kind of all just, my splits kind of went downhill. That's just the truth, and my numbers did. So I just want to work on being more efficient and being able to overcome things if I'm affected by it. And I just want to continue just to so I belong, honestly. That's the biggest thing, whether it's shooting a three, whether it's being a point guard. I see everything that people say. It's a bad thing, but I like looking at what people have to say. And I don't let it affect me too much. I do let it make me angry, I guess, a little bit if one emotion had to come out of it. But just to continue to prove people wrong. I see some people saying Seth can't be on the ball. There's no way Seth can be a point guard. There's no way Seth can shoot. So all that. I owe it to myself, owe it to my team, and it's just really want to do that at the end of the day.
I know that you guys have not gotten to the point where, like, the discussion is, Seth, you're going to do this and play 35 minutes, and I know that hasn't gotten there yet. But, like, what do you envision your role being this upcoming year, understanding that it can still adjust and change as we get there?
Just a leader. A leader. On a good night, on a bad night, a night that I have 25, a night that I have 5. I have to be a leader. I have to be the voice for this team, and I have to be the guy who, Coach Davis can just rely on when his voice may not be as heard as he wants to be in that moment. We had that guy the last couple of years, and now we don't this year coming into a new team. So Coach Davis, he's putting that all on me now. He wants me to be that guy, just to be as vocal no matter what type of night I'm having. And then he just wants me to evolve, and I want myself to evolve into the best basketball player I can possibly be. So, if I can play 40 minutes all game next year, that's what I'm trying to do. But, we know that's not realistic. So
It felt like you really grew into that leadership thing the last month or so of this past season. Why did that feel like it became more important to you? And as you started doing it more, how'd you find it fit with you?
Yeah, I realized a voice was needed. A voice is really needed for this team. I feel some guys try. Coach Davis wanted some guys to step up and say this and that, and I was one of those guys early in the year, and it just wasn't happening. But I don't know. I just really, really grew into it somehow, some reason, some way. But a voice was needed, and I was able to step up. And what was your next question?
How you feel like it kind of felt with how you see yourself as a player
Oh,
and,
absolutely.
And as a Tar Heel?
I think it's me. I mean, simple as that. I've always been a guy who hasn't been afraid to speak up. I've always been a guy who, like, if I need to get on somebody, I get on somebody. I've always been just a leader in my own way, and I haven't used my voice as much these last couple of years as I really wanted to. And this last year, I feel like I've really been able to, in the last couple of months, I feel like I've really been able just to be me. I've been able to use my voice, and it's been able just to, it's carried over onto the court with my play and just allowed me to be more confident as well.
RJ's been on here talking about how he's admitted that he's had trouble with that. And Coach Davis has been hard on him at times and said he hasn't done it enough. As you've watched him struggle with that over these last 3 years or so, what do you think that taught you about how you want to do it in your fourth year?
You just can't be afraid to be yourself while being a leader. You know, if you try and do it this way or do it that way or, you know, do what coach is trying to tell you to do, it may not work out. You have to find it within yourself, and you have to be yourself at the end of the day and just use your voice to push, to lead, to inspire, to do all that. So simple as that.
I want to be very careful with this question, and I'm not trying to put you in a bad spot. But as you reflect on last year, this wasn't a terrible season or team, right, but I think it also fell short of what Carolina expects and what you guys expected. Absolutely. As you have reflected back on it, what do you think wasn't there? What do you think was missing? Where do you think you guys can improve, even though it is going to be with some different cast of characters as you move forward?
Yeah, I think the experience played a huge part. You know, we had a really young team. A lot of guys, myself included, you know, had to step into a huge role, a new role. I think that got a lot of guys, and I think maybe in the beginning of the year, when we were seeing more of those struggles, guys, we weren't, you know, bonded, playing together. We weren't a team. You know, Coach Davis would say we were a group. You know, that's what he would say. And eventually we ended up becoming a team. We ended up playing for each other. We ended up having that chemistry and just having that love and enjoyment for each other that wasn't there in the beginning of the year. And I think that's honestly the main reason why we saw those struggles. You know, guys had bad shooting nights. And when I say guys, I'm not saying I'm excluded from this. You know, guys would have bad shooting nights and, you know, get in their own head. And I just think, you know, minds would be led away from remembering that this is a team, this is a family that has to stick together. So I think it's really just as simple as that. Coming into this next year, that has to be the emphasis. You know, Carolina family, the Carolina culture has always been strongly stamped here, and I don't think we did the best job representing that next year. So me as a leader, me as a guy who has been here for 3 years now, going to his fourth season at this program, needs to embrace that and continue to remind everybody that that is how we do it. So honestly, it starts with me. You know, it starts with the coaches, but I mean, we all know the best teams are player-led, so I'm going to have to do a good job, you know, really, really, really leading with that.
You sat here last year at this time and said exactly what you were going to do over the summer, exactly the things you were going to get better at, and you went out and did exactly that. I'm sure you have things, and we'll talk about them in a second, that you want to get better at on the court and that you will prepare for over the summer. Mm-hmm. Can you prepare over the summer for that stuff that you're talking about, like being the guy who has to do all the media stuff and the guy who gets all the social media messages and the guy who has to sort of round up the youngsters who don't know any better? How do you prepare for that over the summer?
Well, me and Big May were actually just talking about this the other day.
You and I and you and Sean May are basically the same. We've all accomplished great things as Tar Heels. Very similar. Let's just have that same conversation.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, so we were just talking about how, you know, the little things matter so much. So if it's a workout with just me and Coach Page, my voice has to be used. If it's a workout with me and a big, my voice has to be used. No matter what, I have to continue just to use my voice and build that habit, because if I don't use it now and I just, you know, go through the day not being that leader that I want to be next year, come August, it won't be there. So I have to build it up. I have to do all the little things that matter, and I have to put an emphasis on it so it comes, you know, second nature. I don't even think about it in August, and and it's there for this team when it needs to be. So it's kind of just I won't say it's simple, but it's as simple as that.
We may have talked about this before. I can't remember, but you were talking about the mental aspect of the game. Mm-hmm. One thing that at least I feel like has always been true in your game here in Chapel Hill is like you can tell when confident Seth Trimble is there. Absolutely. Like you can just tell. Absolutely. The way you move, the way you attack, you can just tell. How do you find that level of confidence more consistently?
Just continuing to find your rhythm. Every game is different, and continuing just to trust your work. I think that's the biggest thing. After I came back from my head injury this past year, I struggled just trusting my work. I asked Marcus this question. Hey, am I doing this wrong? I like overstudied myself almost because I was so eager to get back to that Seth, and I think that set me back even more. So just continue to trust the work each and every day. Us athletes, we know the work that we put in each and every day. We know our body better than anybody else's. And we know that we're blessed, so we got to leave it at that. There's no more overthinking for it. It's just playing with a free mind and, trusting what you can do. So as simple as that. My best games, the most confident version of Seth has been the most free version. So just need to continue to preach that next year.
You referenced your true position a minute ago. What do you see that as being?
Well, I've always been point guard / combo. I know I haven't played that the last 3 years, but that's just what I've been. I know people haven't seen that and don't think it's there, but that's what I've been, and that's what I know I can do. So I'm not saying I only want to be a point guard or only want to be a two. I know what I can do being involved, and I know that's what I need to step into, this upcoming season.
Your entire class is gone, including some guys that you're close with.
Yep.
I just kind of wonder, like, what you've learned about yourself as you've gotten to the point that you're the last one standing and you're doing this by yourself now.
Yeah. This is knocking my guys at all, because I see them like brothers. I mean, they come and see me, I come and see them. Shoot, I'm gonna go to Nashville this summer and text Big Shaver to come join us.
See, there we go, Jones.
We all have that. We all have that brotherhood. We all have that bond. But one thing that says about me, I think it goes to show how I've been able to battle through adversity and come on top. Like I said earlier, it's really rare kind of to see a player stay 4 years now. And, I know I entered the portal last year and I did this and that. So my loyalty, some people say, may not be there.
We don't care about those people, Seth. Those people are dumb.
But, I mean, I think it speaks a lot on my character. I don't really know. I don't really have much words to put to it. I mean, I put my faith in our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, each and every day. And I think that honestly has carried me so much. I was really in a lost way last year at the end of the year. I had lost all my confidence my freshman year once I stopped playing. I worried too much after I got hurt last year, but I've been able just to continue to overcome and become a better version of Seth each and every day. And that's mainly because of him. I give credit to my family and my people around me too, but they've all just helped me overcome and grow as a person. So
the money is a very different entity than it was even probably when you first arrived in Chapel Hill.
Yep.
And it's really big now. How do you keep that from getting weird? Because it never used to be like this for college basketball, but now there's guys who are making significant amounts of money.
Yeah.
How do you try and make it not awkward?
I mean, you got to keep the main thing. We're all here to win. We're all here to win a national championship. We're all here to make each other better. We can't let money get in the way. We can't be money greedy and, trying to worry about what he's getting, what I'm getting. But at the end of the day, you got to feel valued. And, if a coach doesn't necessarily meet that with the price maybe you're looking for, then you don't feel valued. So everything just has to match, but you got to keep the main thing. And over the last 3 years since I've been here, we have been able to, and I just make sure that that's the same thing for next year.
We all know for sure that social media has its negative parts, which are probably the majority.
Yeah.
I wonder kind of what you've heard in the past week positively from Tar Heel fans via those methods or walking around town, walking down Franklin Street, whatever. This made you have a better understanding of kind of how much they value this decision that you've made and how hungry they were to have somebody say, you know what, I'm doing this again.
Yeah. I mean, since the season ended, my DMs have been jam-packed from just a bunch of fans. Every time I go out somewhere in Chapel Hill, like I went to the baseball game when they played Duke last Friday, maybe. I think it was last Friday, and people just asked me, are you coming back? Are you coming back? You know, we need you back. And, you know, I like to tease people, so I was like, I don't know. You know, we'll see. But, I really felt the value, even last year. But this year, I really, really felt the value after the season ended. You know, fans really let me know how they feel, you know, the player that they want me to be, the leader that they want me to be for this program, and it's been really heartwarming. So I appreciate it a lot. I do.